we don't realize it. We were programmed at birth, and we're still running these programs, aren't we?
95% of the day, you're running the programs you acquired before age 7. The brain is a computer. It's the most powerful computer that humans have ever been made aware of. Cells in your body are not connected to the outer environment. Something has to tell them what the heck is going on. And so it turns out the nervous system interfaces the environment and then sends signals to the cells to tell them what's going on. First principle in quantum physics is consciousness is creating our life experience. That's the whole story of quantum physics. It's created by this.
Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted to take back your power and rewire your mind, then do we have the Biology of Belief show for you. Today I'll be talking with runaway best-selling author of The Biology of Belief, Spontaneous Evolution, and the Honeymoon Effect, Dr. Bruce Lipton, about how to reprogram your subconscious mind. So welcome back to the show, Bruce. Are you ready to shine?
I am on with you, Michael, and you're shining for a guy who got bumped up and down all over the place. But the best part of it is the 50 trillion cells in your body are saying, okay, let's rebuild it, put it back into order again, and it's going to come out just the way you want it to do. So the beautiful part is the magic of 50 trillion cells.
I like how you said earlier, these are, and I completely agree with you, sentient beings, each and every one of them. So if I have a pep talk, if I rally the troops, like I was down for a few hours, not mopey down, I was more like, what happened? And then I'm like, the first thing I get to do on this hospital wing is bring love and light to everybody on the wing. That's my job. And as I reflect that light outwards, it's reflected back inwards. And all of the cells suddenly go, this isn't so bad. This can be kind of a little kick back, relax, maybe even a little party.
Or something will come out of it because the community is an integrated community with your consciousness, and whatever was going on, the community is with you. And one of the most important things people don't recognize, because I'm a cell biologist, is that cells are sentient beings, as you mentioned, because I can take them out of your body, put them in a petri dish, and they can live pretty darn good without you around. So there's a point where they're individual entities, but they live in a community. And the biggest understanding of this community is that the new science, epigenetics, is the science of how environment controls your genes. And while they talk about it, they don't take it to the level I do, because I was 23 years ahead of them in recognizing epigenetics. But the big thing that I learned about all this stuff is that it's the environment controlling your genes. I go, yeah, but you have to understand that the cells in your body are not connected to the outer environment, but they have to adjust themselves to that outer environment. And the relevance about that, well, then how they know what to do, because something has to tell them what the heck is going on. And so it turns out the nervous system interfaces the environment and then sends signals to the cells to tell them what's going on. So the cells are responding to the perceptions and actions of the central nervous system. And I say, why is that relevant? Because I say it's an interpretation. And so the cells, the simple point, you got 50 trillion citizens, and the mind is a government.
Yes.
And the government talks to these cells. Now you could have a bad leader who tells them this is all crap, it's all falling apart, things don't work. And it's like, they're not going to be happy cells. And it can profoundly different. You talk to your cells and tell them, okay, everything's cool, we're great. When there's a big, incident in the U.S., an accident or big problem in some community, the president goes to the community.
Yes.
Why does the president go? Because it takes the attention of all the other citizens of the states, focuses on the intention where that president is. So if there's an area where there's a disaster, the energy of all the people are addressed to that area because the president shows up there, and that's the leader. So I'm saying the same thing for your cells. You're sort of that president in there. And the point is, when you touch some part on your body, your conscious attention focuses on that part of the body. And intention is energy. And it's a healing energy when you're sending a good message to that part of the body. So you touch it, talk to it, and it sounds like, oh, crazy. I go, no, you are directly sending information via consciousness to all the cells to focus healing on this part. And it's real.
I've healed some things in interesting manners. I was hit by a car. No, it was a motorcycle, and hit by a few different vehicles. I should share with everybody what happened here. But decades ago, I was hit by a motorcycle. I'd been racing in Europe. I came back to the States in between racing seasons, got hit by a motorcycle on a mountain bike trail, which was interesting. And I used a laser pen in my mind's eye. So in 3 weeks of focusing brilliant light on the fracture, it was gone. It showed on x-ray that it had been long since healed. And the doctor was dumbfounded because I brought that awareness to those cells.
Exactly. They're our friends because they're our community. And if we treat them badly, because so many people are sending so many negative things, oh, this isn't going to work or that can't happen and all that. And I say, well, what's the population going to respond to if they're all out there and the president's saying, now that'll never work, this can't happen? There's a point where a depression sets into the system. And the fact is, no, I love my cells. You know, it's funny because I never believed in spirituality until I got the lesson from the cells that our identity is really a broadcast that's picked up by our cells. And when I understood that first instant, to tell you the truth, I was like, oh my God, we're not the information of who we are.
How did that concept of broadcast come to you? I want to hear more about the specific, but before that, what was that trigger, that impetus that, hey, there's a wave going on through the body here, a wave going on through this organ, and they're talking.
Yeah, well, the first thing is this, my research from 1967, the last century, that research revealed that genetically identical cells in different environments have different fate. Mm-hmm. And the significance of this research said, well, then the fate of the cell wasn't based on the genes. They all had the same genes. It was based on the environment. And this is now the basis of the new science, epigenetics, environment controlling genes. I got that information a long time ago with my research. The most interesting part was, one of the things that, as a cell biologist, totally aware of is that I can't take my cells and put it into your body, Michael, because if my cells go into your body, your immune system's going to say not self and get rid of them. You put your cells into somebody else's body, their immune system is going to say not self and get rid of it. Well, the first thing you have to understand is this. Obviously, the immune system recognizes self.
Yes.
What is self versus what is not self? And the answer turns out that on our cells, most of our cells, a big exception of the blood cells, that's why we can exchange blood cells. Most all of our cells have a set of protein like television antennas on the surface called self receptors.
Yes.
I'd say, why is that relevant? Because they're receiving a signal. But the interesting part is no two people have the same set of these self receptors. And the signals come from the environment. So what was the point? My identity is through these self receptors. But my identity is the signal that's in the environment. And all of a sudden, the picture that came in my head as I was understanding the nature of this, I said, oh my God, my body is like a television set playing the Bruce show, which is a broadcast. And I said, a television, when it breaks, is dead. But I say, if a television breaks and dies, did the broadcast stop? And the answer is no. The broadcast is always there. You just get another TV, tune it to the same station, and you're back online. And in reincarnation, which I never believed in, now I was like, oh my gosh, of course, it's so simple. If an embryo shows up with the same set of receptors that I have, and again, no two people have the same set. It's like a combination lock. I said, another embryo shows up with the same set of receptors, I'm back. But I think comes a very interesting point. He says, does it have to be a male or female body? I go, that's the television set. How about black, white, brown, red, yellow? I said, that's the television set. You are not the television. You are the broadcast picked up by the television set, which should give a little more respect to people about other people's gender or race or, whatever it is. It's like, you're in this body this time. You don't know what the next one's going to be. So the relevance about that was this moment of recognition says, wait, I can't die. Huh? Well, my body can die, but my broadcast is me. It's a vibration. It's a frequency. And it's a radio station, more or less. And I'm broadcasting. So the body can die, but the broadcast is still there. So spirit, which is an energy field in quantum physics, is always there. Bodies come and go. Okay. So when I just realized the first time in my life, I'm like, God, I'm not the body, I'm the spirit. My first question as a science guy here says, why have a body and a spirit? Why not just be the spirit? And 50 trillion cells welled up with an answer. And I call them Jewish comedian cells.
Yep.
Because they answered my question with a question. I asked, why have a body and a spirit? Why not just be a spirit? 50 trillion cells well up. And I just love it. I never forget the thing that just came into my mind. They brought up my mind and they said, Bruce, if you're just a spirit, what does chocolate taste like? That's so damn profound. It might take you a while to figure it out. But what does it mean? It says, this body provides sensation, taste, smell, touch, sound, light, everything that the body translates it. The nervous system is a translator. It takes the vision in the eye and translates it into pictures, or the sound coming in the ear can be translated into music, or the taste. But like love is a translation of a chemistry. Okay. So if two spirits were without a body and they were giving a definition of love, it'll be so cold and dry. Love is some kind of blah, blah, blah. I say, but once you have an experience of love, when you talk about the physical experience, the sensation, all of a sudden that amplifies what the meaning of love is all about. So the body is an amplifier of experiences for us. And we came here. It's a gift. It's an absolute gift to be able to see and smell and touch and feel love. My God, that's such an amazing gift. And we don't even think about it, We're just going through our lives, working and all that. And I said, you fail to understand. We came here for pleasure. We came here to have the most wonderful experiences come through this body. And it's interesting because everybody thinks, well, what your experiences in your head, but I can read them with wires called electroencephalograph. So it's inside my head. And I go, new thing is called magnetoencephalograph. It reads your brain function. I go, yeah, but the probe is out here. I say, there's a meaning. Your thoughts are not contained in your head. Your thoughts are broadcast into the field, and they actually go back to source. And if you did a lot of crappy things in one life, it alters that harmony of source. But if you come back in another life and you do wonderful things, then it can bring back the harmony of source. So karma, what you may have done in the past to upset the balance and harmony, can be fixed the moment you start to recognize, wait, I need to send back the signals of harmony again. And so when you are living in harmony, you are returning that signal back to source. Now, second part, quantum physics is the most valid science on this planet. There's no science that theoretically came up with ideas that have all proven to be true so far. So I say, so why is it relevant? I say the first principle in quantum physics is consciousness is creating our life experience. That's fundamental. That's the whole story of quantum physics. It's created by this. And I go, wow. I say, why is it relevant? I say, well, when you're broadcasting those thoughts, the energy fields of your thoughts interact with the energy of the environment. And as a result, we are shaping it. I'll give you a quote that's really important to bring it to science. Albert Einstein, quote, the field, the energy, the field is the sole governing source of matter. The energy shapes matter. I say, so why is it relevant? I say, what energy are you sending with your thoughts into this world? Because if they're not harmonious thoughts, they're going to shape matter in a non-harmonious way. And when you broadcast love, well, that brings to anything around you to vibrate with love will move. It's resonance. It resonates. It vibrates because you're on the same vibration. If you send out a negative vibration, the only thing that's going to vibrate with that is something negative with a negative vibration. So you send out a negative thought and stuff comes home to you, man. You send it out, it came back. But if you start sending out love and harmony and beautiful stuff like that, that vibration doesn't affect anybody in disharmony. Your harmony, their disharmony doesn't really work. But your harmony will connect with what? Anything else that is in harmony. And therefore you generate a community around you of the things that vibrate with you versus if you had a negative thought, you'd be vibrating with different people around you and experience a negative life. And harmony is love. That's what it comes down to, the music of it. And so it really becomes important. People, oh yeah, my thoughts are, I go, no, your thoughts are shaping not just your biology, that's epigenetics, but it's shaping the life experiences that are outside of you.
Yes.
And it's interesting because this is the physics and mechanisms of cells. And I say, so what? I said, it's ancient spiritual understanding we acquired from 1,000 years ago or more. But in today's world, it's sort of like, this doesn't mean very much, give me the next supersized meal or whatever. And the reality is, no, the spiritual component is the driver of your life. Ignore it. And then you're really running on programs that we get from parents and family and community when we were infants. And the only way you can get it back is say, wait, I'm not a program. I'm a creator. Oh, big word. I hope I don't freak a lot of people out there because the word is creator.
Yeah.
Each of us, in a sense, is a piece of God. Each of us is a vibration out of the universe. And each of us is a unique vibration. But then each of us, in using that vibration, are creators. And the big issue is, well, if we're creators, then how come the world is in such a state of chaos at this moment? Simple answer. The way we have been creating as a culture and a community has been in disharmony, not with just each other, but disharmony with nature. And the relevance, the disharmony with nature is manifesting as the fact that we are now in a process of an extinction process called the mass extinction, that our behavior, not in harmony, has undermining the web of life. And this is not an extinction 1,000 years. We're talking an extinction of culture as we know it within a couple of decades. It's not going to be, it's falling apart in front of your face right now. And that's nature actually just showing us your thoughts are not in harmony with nature and in life. And human thoughts are then precipitating this chaos, a breakdown of the worldview right now. With the idea is recognizing we're doing this with our consciousness gives us the opportunity to change our consciousness and bring it back again. But we have to recognize consciousness involved. It's funny, I just saw a video last night and it brought up the Dust Bowl that happened in the U.S. in the breadbasket where all the food was growing in the Depression. What a coincidence. The Depression started, the Dust Bowl started at the same time. The Depression ended and the Dust Bowl ended at the same time. And the point was what? When the entire population was depressed in that, the vibrations they sent out were so disharmonious with nature. It wiped out the normal growing of the Midwest. It turned it into dust until people changed their vibration and brought life back in together after the Depression. And I go, well, look what happened. That was just, depression was around the world, so it wasn't just our thoughts, but it really showed up. The fact is this: we're in a chaos, dust bowl of life.
Yes.
And the point about it is this: why we brought this on from the way we've been programmed, about whatever way we got programmed that first 7 years. And collectively, then, the result of our behavior is the kind of behavior that manifests the dust bowl. And so when we look at nature falling apart, it's not it's falling apart. We are, our behavior is generating that. So I'm sorry I didn't let you cut in there a lot of times, Michael.
There's a bunch of different directions to go in, Bruce. This is brilliant. So I'm loving it. And most recently, and I want to share with people what happened to me and why I look a little bit interesting today.
You look pretty today, Michael.
I am pretty, oh so pretty. I love it. I have no complaints. At all. But before we do that, there's a self-balancing mechanism. Nothing is as it appears to be, and it is a wake-up mechanism. And it'll get the screws kind of tighten until we begin to wake up. And so it's almost like we're behind a curve, sort of like seasons are always, weather is always behind the curve, meaning the sun has come out for X amount of hours a day before it all of a sudden heats up, before a sudden the water starts to melt. And then there's a lag factor on the other side of the seasons as well, before it cools off, before things freeze. And so this is just a wake-up mechanism, I believe, not for a bifurcation of humanity off the cliff, but for an evolution, a spiral upwards. We just get to recognize it. And so I'm going to go back to a quote that I really wanted to start today with, and then you'll dive in, and then eventually I'll share what beautiful gift just happened to me, from Carl Jung. I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. And you're saying that has an effect globally, doesn't it?
100%. Basically, remember I just said before that our thoughts are broadcast out of our head, okay? And I said, well, imagine there's a tuning fork and a vibration broadcasting out. Jung is right. I'm broadcasting with a tuning fork. I broadcast a vibration. But so do you, Michael. So does the person living next door to you. So does Jessica. All of us are throwing out a vibration. I say each tuning fork has a small amount of power. But you put 1,000 tuning forks sharing the same vibration, and 1,000,000 tuning forks sharing the same vibration, the amplitude of that vibration then goes right back into what Einstein said. The field, which is the vibration, is shaping matter. And if we have a positive field, then our world is beautiful all around us. And if we start having a lot of negative thinking and fear and stress, then we are also stressing the environment with the same vibration with large numbers. And that's where we are right now. Too many people are lost. They don't know what the hell's going on. Chaos is going on everywhere. And they don't realize nature, this is a symptom. Nature is saying, if you keep doing this, you're in a lot of trouble. And nature said, look at what's going on, because you have time right now to change your mind before it gets much worse. And the question is, well, we better start working together because, as you mentioned, evolution is an upward spiral of community. And we have to learn to come into community in an interesting time when politics is splitting up the community into so many fractions that it's like, well, that's anti-evolution. We're not coming together. We're separating. I go, waking up is where we are right now.
And to me, that I do a lot of channeling, Bruce. And so I have this Wednesday class that I teach people called the School of Mystics. And I teach channel a different person each month. Before I got injured last Wednesday, I had channeled Rumi, who talked about the power of being shattered, which is kind of freaky because then I went out and got hit by a car. Talked about the power of being shattered and that chaos, which then allows one to become light, then to come together at a higher state of organization or a higher state of coherence.
Well, absolutely. See, there's an important word. When you use chaos, I would say a large portion of the population thinks chaos is random. The word chaos doesn't mean random. It means there's a pattern, but there's so many details that you can't really see all the details at once. So then you make a suggestion or a probability, a guess, like weather. Weather is based on probability. Why? Because I say you could accurately predict the exact temperature at a place in time, let's say next Wednesday at a yard in Hawaii.
Yeah.
If you had all the details. And I go, but they don't have all the details. It's like as the old story, when a butterfly flaps its wings, it changes the weather. I go, that's part of the detail for sure. You have to know what every butterfly in the world is doing at the same time.
And thinking at the same time. What are they emitting at the same time?
This is the issue. So it's too much. So weather is probability, although it's chaotic, meaning you could exactly do it, but you just don't have all the information. We're in a world of chaos. Something is going on and it's so important. But when you look at it, it looks like random. It's all like falling apart stuff. I go, when a caterpillar, which is the most voracious of organisms, eats every damn leaf off a plant. When it eats all the leaves, it goes then into a cocoon. I go, what happens in a cocoon? I say,
gets ugly.
Well, the cells of the caterpillar, the body breaks down because the caterpillar's not eating, moving, or doing anything. So the inside this cocoon is soup, but there are also special cells called imaginal cells. And imaginal cells have a vision of a future, and cells start to reorganize into what becomes the butterfly. So from the most voracious organism to the lightest touch organism is a metamorphosis. And I say, in that, if you opened up the cocoon, it's like, what? It's just a bunch of cells all randomly, like soup. And I go, it's not. There's a pattern. Part of it is coming down and part is being built. And so I say, yeah, every cell knows where it's supposed to be, where it is at this time. This is no random this and this at all. And I go, civilization has been in a caterpillar stage, eating up the earth. It's not working anymore. And what's happening then, civilization as the caterpillar is starting to fall apart. And I go, yes, it is. But also at the very same time, as you're an example of this, getting information out to people, imaginal cells saying, wait, there's another way, there's something better in front of us and all that. So let's group together in a community and create the better one. So I say, where are we? We're in the cocoon. The current civilization, caterpillar, not sustainable, falling apart. We're in a state of chaos. We're moving out of a civilization that's unsustainable. We're building a new civilization, and you, and most importantly, the audience.
Yes, exactly.
This is an evolution of participation. This is not, I sit at home and wait and say, did the evolution happen yet? And I go, no, you are a participant to make evolution. And that's where we all come in, and then we go right full circle back to your understanding. How am I going to make evolution? I say, we better have another consciousness that deals with harmony and love and peace and community, because we all have to have a new tuning of our tuning fork, generate a different picture. And then not only will we survive into the future, if we understand it, we will thrive into the future. And we're in chaos.
Thank you. So I'm not even feeling like going into well, maybe we'll get there, because the doctor said some interesting things to me, and it goes right back to your biology of belief. I'm going to save that toward the end. We're going to go into what the doctors told me about my wrist, and particularly about my heart, because they freaked out about my heart and canceled surgery on me, and were telling me about how terrible things are. And we got and for a brief moment, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So we'll save that toward the end.
That's an important discussion. So save a piece of time for that, because it's a very important discussion at this time.
We will do that. Before that, I want to talk about the red pill that the caterpillar had to take, and that we have to take, because we don't realize it. We were programmed at birth, and we're still running these programs, aren't we?
95% of the day you are running the programs you acquired before age 7. And there's a reason. So let's just say it's no coincidence of what's going on. The simple point is this: the brain is a computer. It's the most powerful computer that humans have ever been made aware of. Now I say, why is it relevant? Well, as powerful it is, it's still a computer. I say there are parallels in structure and function between the silicon computer that we use and the carbon-based organic computer that's inside my head. And I say that here's the parallels. When you build a computer, when it's all done, you can push start, and it's called boot up. The screen lights up and we're ready to go. I say, it's ready. I say, do something. You go, I can't. I say, it's brand new. It just got booted up. Do something. I say, not until I put programs in a computer can I use a computer. So I say, in the human computer, the last trimester of pregnancy through the first 7 years is where the fetus and then neonate baby acquire programs. And it's a brain function that allows them to download it. It's a download brain function. It's a lower than consciousness. It's called theta. And I say, so why is it relevant? I go, because the simple fact of life is this: culture is so damn complicated. I go, yeah, and it also changes a lot. And I say, so what? I say, you can't program culture. Culture changes. Culture can only be learned. And I said, well, learning culture. I said, yeah, to be a member of a family, to be a member of a community, how many rules? Jesus, it's got to be 100,000 rules. Every little thing has got a rule. How a father talks to his own kid is not the same behavior that the father talks to the neighbor's kid, which is not the same behavior that he talks to the mother. It's not the same behavior he talks to the neighbor. It's not the same behavior he talks to the policeman. And right away I'm going, oh my God, I got to learn all these different patterns of behavior. That was just one little thing. If you start putting them together, I say, how does an infant accommodate so many rules to be that member of the family and community in a short time? And nature created the brain to be in a state of hypnosis from the last trimester of pregnancy through age 7, and then consciousness takes over and becomes predominant after age 7. Hypnosis is meaning this: I don't have to read the book. I just have to watch the model, and I'll download the model. So when we grow up, we look at our father and download what the father's behavior is, our mother, the mother's behavior, family, community. How many behaviors you got to know to be in that community? You download them. It's the only way an infant can get that much information into their head because they're not capable of reading even, so what are you going to do? And so we learn this programs that we have by observing others, and we download their behaviors and they become our programs. After age 7, we have an option to type on the keyboard, and that's where we put in our data. Okay, so the computer boots up, put programs in, and then once the programs are in, then you can access the programs by typing. So I go, well, the big deal about all this stuff is that to type, you have to be conscious of what you're typing and be aware. So we have two minds. Subconscious has got the programs. That's where the programs got downloaded. Conscious is the creative part that's connected to our spirituality, our unique identity. Subconscious is going to be comparable from one person to the next, because if you learn the same programs, then you share the same thing. Conscious mind, that's unique. That's you. It has a unique vibration. I talked about the receptors that are downloading your vibration. That's where you are operating from. Subconscious, just programs that you got from others. Now comes the problem with the whole world, and that is we believe we're running our lives with our conscious wishes and desires, conscious being creative. Subconscious habit, just habit. And they're not bad. I mean, you learned how to walk before you were 2. You could be 100 years old, you're still walking. Thank God, it's a habit. Once it's in there, it's going to stay in there. And so if you have good habits, you have bad habits, that doesn't work well. Okay? So the point is this: we get these habits. And then I say, but I could drive the vehicle. I could be conscious, and I could take my body's steering wheel and drive me toward wishes and desires, creative, what I want. But I go, the monkey wrench in the machine, if you understand this, it profoundly changes your life. And it's this: conscious mind has 2 options. Look out at the world, observe it, and interact with it. But conscious mind could think. So while Michael's sitting there at his desk, and hopefully it's not in front of him, I say, Michael, tell me what you're doing on Saturday, a few days from now. And you could stop and think.
Yes.
And in the moment you give me an answer, and I say, guess what? When you were watching outside, that was cool. But when you were thinking, you went inside. The answers are inside. So I said, well, if you're driving the vehicle and you're watching out the windshield with conscious, and then conscious goes inside, who the heck's driving the vehicle? Because you let go. And I go, the moment consciousness is focused inside like that, the subconscious is autopilot. I said, so what? I said, well, when you're thinking, your behavior is not coming from your wishes and desires. When you're thinking, you're playing the downloaded behavior you got from those people around you. And then comes the number that then blows this thing up, and it is only 5% of the day are we using the creative mind to manifest our life. And 95% of the day, we're using our program. Yeah, but you got the program from other people. You're not living your life. You're living. And I say, this is why characteristics flow in a family. Everyone used to think it was genetics. It's like, no, a child is downloading the behavior of their parent when they were that kid before 7.
Yeah.
And when they grow up, and the Jesuits have told, this is a part that the Jesuits have told people 400 years the truth, and nobody understood it. Because the Jesuits said, give me a child until it is 7, and I will show you the man. Let's interpret that just from what we just said.
Yes.
The first 7 years is programming. But then 95% of your life is coming from the program. So your life is a manifestation of the program. So they said, give me the child for 7 years. I will program it. And once the program is in, that will be 95% of their life. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, they knew that we were programmable. And then now we're living in the matrix. And we've all been programmed.
Perfect, which is exactly where I wanted to go, because it's a brilliant series of movies. In fact, when this is coming out, I believe there's a new Matrix that is about to come out, and I'm fascinated as to where that plot line goes, Bruce. But with that said, there's an element in it, love, we definitely have to discuss, but Neo was able to move beyond the programming.
You did too.
Thank you.
Are you in love with your partner? How's she doing?
I am beyond in love. So we're expecting identical baby twins, twin girls. And actually I do this process called automatic writing, and I started talking to their spirits before we conceived. We had names before we conceived. And when they showed it to me on ultrasound, we're like, yep. And it is because we have stepped outside of ourselves. So the amount of love that I have for her and I have for the babies right now is like, I don't care if the bike's wrecked. I don't care if it's going to take blah, blah, blah time, and we're still going to get to what the doctor said to heal. I don't care about anything. Life is freaking amazing, Bruce.
It is. And if you come from a parent like that, but what if you come from an old school parent? Mm-hmm. You know, they struggle, they work hard. Life isn't that easy. Things don't come to you.
Somebody at a bike shop recently, I said, we have identical twins coming. His response, I'm sorry.
I want to tell you in a most serious way, you're an important element of evolution at this point, because your kids are going to generate the world when they get older. And you remember I said the programming is the first 7 years. And you're right. Listen, other cultures, more, older cultures, before a couple can even conceive, mm-hmm. they have to go through a cleansing ceremony of their consciousness, even before they conceive the baby, because they knew this from generations of whatever, don't carry this into that next generation.
Yeah. So tell us, what does Neo, Trinity, we're going back to the Matrix here, the red pill and specifically love have to do with rewiring the subconscious?
I love it. Thank you for a question I can answer simply. And the point is this, I said the conscious mind is wishes and desires, mm-hmm. but it only works 5%.
Yeah.
And that's because we're thinking 95% of the time. So then our life is really a collection of programs. And so while I got a second on that, let me just offer this. Is like, well, you weren't there for the programming consciously. You started getting programmed even before you were born. From 0 to 1, the whole year, you weren't really conscious. From 1 to 2, another whole year, and you've been programmed.
Yeah.
So we don't know our programs generally because we weren't there. So, but I can tell you what your programs are, because simple fact, 95% of your life is coming from the program. So your life is a printout of your programs. So I say, why is it relevant? I go, simple. Look at your life right now and recognize the things that you like that come into your life. They come in because you have a program to accommodate them. But in contrast, the things you wish for and desire, but you're working hard, struggling, sweating over, I'm going to make it, a lot of effort. And I go, why are you working so hard? And the answer inevitably is the program you inherited through this interaction doesn't support that conclusion. And you're trying to override the program with effort. I go, that's a lost cause in most cases, because the 95% of your life is not coming from that wishes, desires mind anyway. So you are the program. What's the story here? And that was this. How come the average person's life is blah, 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 blah. Then they meet somebody and they get so excited and they are in love. 24 hours later, their life is profoundly changed. Now their life is joy and love, and the music's great, the food's great, even a crummy job's not so bad. Everything's so much through the filters of love. This is so beautiful. I go, but you changed from blah, blah, blah in 24 hours, and all of a sudden you created what? Wishes and desires. I said, but that's conscious mind. I go, that's the point. The reason we're not creating it on a day-by-day basis is because we're only using 5% of the time for consciousness and 95% for the program. The red pill in the state of love is this. science has recognized when people fall in love, they stop thinking, they stay present, they stay what is called mindful. I say, what? Well, it's logical. You've been looking for this person your whole life. Is this time to think and then disappear? I go, no, stay present. Stay present. I go, so what's the matter? What happens when you stay present? I say, you did not default to the program. Love is the red pill. It stops you from playing the program. And when you first fall in love like that, that honeymoon is what? That whole special part of your life. I said, where the hell did that come from? I said, you stopped playing the program. And the fact was, well, guess what? Without that program, the honeymoon was there the entire lifetime, every day of your life. But it was the program that took you away. Falling in love is an example for the individual to say, what happens if I stop playing? I say, if you ever fell in love, days of a honeymoon, weeks of a honeymoon, months, it all depends. And I say, well, also, then why is the honeymoon infrequently a very short life thing? And I go, very simple. You got to the honeymoon by not thinking so much.
Yeah.
But what happens if you start thinking because you have a job, chores, things you got to do, and you start thinking? I go, the moment you start thinking, guess what? Now you're playing negative programs, if those are the ones that were causing the problem, because conscious mind let go. I'm thinking. And your relationship with this other person, you never played negative programs, because when you became mindful, you never played the programs in the subconscious, which many are so negative. I go, so why? I said, you and your partner on a honeymoon only saw the best of who you are. But a short time later, whatever time, there's a point where thinking overtakes the system. And then the programs that come up are the ones that you got programmed with. And if you were programmed for me, following my father's program of relationship, no wonder I didn't have a relationship for 45 years, because I saw him and my mother. That was no example.
So let's go from there, and let's dive back into the honeymoon effect. And then I don't want to take too much of your time. This has been absolutely brilliant. But then we'll dive into what the doctors were telling to me, which is, how do we stay in the honeymoon effect? Because so many people say, well, my best man at my wedding, he was 89 years young, Jack. He said that he married the same woman 3 times. We have recurrent patterns and wounds that we carry forward from that -3 to 7 years, -3 months to 7 years, we will carry forward. So how do we stay in the honeymoon state, or keep it alive, so we live here, now, present, not running those programs?
The most important thing is, I said, the behavior is invisible because it's happening when you're not paying attention. How are you going to know what the behavior is unless somebody tells you what the behavior is? But when people start to tell you have a negative behavior, there's a psychological thing that, it's like, ego gets in the way, and it's like, you, it's like, no. But that's where arguments come from, because if you're in a relationship and the other person doesn't know that's a programmed behavior, and it comes out, it's like, who are you? What kind of behavior is that? And then there's an argument. If you understand, both people in the couple relationship understand, these are the programs, not who you are. These are the programs. There's no argument. There's an opportunity for discussion. Do you want to change what? The behavior. What behavior? You didn't see it. Oh, that. I didn't know I was doing that. I say, well, once you become aware of something, you can do something about it. But if you have a lot of negative behavior and people around you, they're not going to just come up and say, hey, Michael, that was a piece of shit behavior you just did. They're not going to say that. It'll just appear, but they saw it and you didn't. Your partner sees it, but they're more tightly tied to you. So if it's a negative behavior, it affects them profoundly. Yeah. But if it's a negative behavior, they know it wasn't you, but it was a program you got and it's playing, then they also then can be part of the healing process. By what? You didn't see this behavior, you weren't aware. Did you know you said this, or whatever it is? There's a communication without fire. Fire is what stops the communication. When communications work like that, then you can use that information and change, and your partner will love it that you're going to do that, and you're going to love it because you just got rid of something that would have pushed somebody else off as well. And all of a sudden that means, you won't be doing that again because you changed that kind of behavior.
So we have awareness. That's huge. How about, let's go back to old school Tony Robbins, but I'm going to use it with, I'm going to say repetition and frequency. We're going to come up with a formula here. How about fake it till you make it using
That,
repetition and frequency?
how did you learn anything after age 7? And the answer was repetition. That's what it was. It was just practicing. The more you repeat something, the more it becomes just so easy. You don't know how to play an instrument. You practice like crazy. At some point, you practice so much, you pick up the instrument, no consciousness of the details of how you're playing it. It's so automatic at this point. It's like driving the car. When you first got in the car, it's like, oh my God, you got to watch the window, the mirrors, the gauges, the engine sound. It's like so much. Today, you've been driving a car a long time. Guess what? You don't even think about it. Put the key in, you're thinking about where you're going. And all of a sudden, I saw the more you practice, the less effort it takes to carry out whatever it was you were practicing. Now, the question is, what are you practicing? Something positive or something negative? Because they both become programs,
Yeah.
whichever one you're practicing. And this is the opportunity to say, fake it till you make it is, I'm not there, but boy, I am this. In spite of that, I am this. And the hardest part about programming that people don't recognize is you have to make all programs present tense positive statements, not future statements. I will have, I shall have, something like that. It's like, no, I am. It is. And the reason is it's so logically simple, and that is this. Let's say I'm not well. I say, I want to be well. I say, fine, let's record that.
Uh-oh.
Now let's come back a whole year later and push the button that says, I want to be well. I say, oh, it's been a whole year. You never got there. You just wanted to be well for a whole year. That's what the program said.
And what it's got me is to a hotel key, which means you go to a hotel, you get the key charged up, you go to the room you want, you put it in, it pops the door open. If what you charge the key up is the I want, then you're going to open the door of I want. If you charge to the key to the I am, and you go to the door that is the I am healthy, I am whichever, and you put it in, that's going to open that door up as well.
Yeah, but that's what the point. See, the function of the mind is to create coherence between the program and the reality so your life matches your beliefs. And if you had a negative belief, then the function of the mind is to generate a negative experience so that your belief and your life experiences match. And you go, yeah, I expected that. I thought that would happen. And I go, well, that was the belief you put in there and the mind's job. So if you are sick and you write, I am healthy, and the mind looks at the program and says, oh, I got to change this. It doesn't change the program. It brings health back so that the body matches the program. And so that's the whole issue about it. The function of the mind is to take the program and manifest it. And if you got a negative program, then obviously whatever it manifests is going to be negative.
It's fascinating. It's a complete tangent, but I'm going to go there for 2 seconds. Last month, I was channeling Lao Tzu, the Tao, Tao Te Ching, and he was talking about a power that's equivalent to there's chi. You need chi, life force, energy, prana to exist. He says there's another power called T, spelled T-E, and T stands for virtue, but really what it stands for is alignment. How in alignment is what you say and what you do? Because if things are out of alignment, and that's what you talked about just now, you said if it's out of alignment, it's not going to happen.
Right. And the function of the mind is to make it in alignment. Now comes the problem. It's going to make it in alignment with the program is. Now you go back and say, well, was that a positive program or a negative program? Because the mind doesn't pick which one it is. It just takes whatever it is and manifests it. And so negative programming always leads to a negative consequence. And that's why I said, look at your life. If it's not working in the negative side that you want to be positive, it's not because the world won't give you what you want. It's because your own mind has set a limitation that the brain is going to manifest. And all of a sudden, it's like we are the ones that are preventing ourselves from having experiences. And that goes to the crux of the biggest problem. Yeah. And that is this. People don't recognize it's their behavior that is manifesting this life. When things don't work, they go, oh, that person did it, and this person, and that, these other people, they're responsible for me not getting what I want. I go, never. You were the one broadcasting it. They just conform to the mind's reaction of your program. And so you bring it in. And why it's so important is, well, there's a couple of things here. Number one is this: you are responsible for everything in your life when you understand this. But then people go back, and this is where I have problems with a lot of people in the audience, because they go back and they go, yeah, but I was in this abusive relationship. That person did it. I had cancer. I didn't do this. I didn't do this. I didn't do this, because they don't want to own it. And I understand that. But then I have to say this. In the past, if you had no knowledge of something, you couldn't operate with knowledge. You have to have knowledge. You have no knowledge, then that's it, you know. And I say, why is it relevant? I say, take my car to town. It's standard shift. You say, I don't know how to drive standard shift. I say, go ahead and take it anyway. And you going down to town. Then you call me up and say, the clutch is broken. Can I yell at you and say, you stupid idiot, you ruined the clutch? No, you didn't know how to drive. And I said, do it. And I go, why is it relevant? And the answer is simply this, is that we're all got bad driver education here. And until you understood that you had a program, till you understood the whole, how's this thing working, you had no awareness of those things. I say, why is it relevant? Guilt, blame, shame, victim, they're all dependent on one fact, and that is, I knew there was a right way, and I did it a different way. And I say, but if you didn't know there was a right way, then you can't have shame, blame, guilt, victim involved. You had no knowledge of it. So the whole idea is this: the past was the past. You didn't know. But today, now if you know, and you move from here to the future, there's a different opportunity for you right now. Okay? Can I blame you for the past? No, you can't blame yourself. Nobody taught you how to do it. Nobody did it right. You were operating off of stupid programs. You had no idea you were even doing a program. And I go, but once you know this, then you have power. This is the first time you have power to say, I'm creating, so I'm going to emphasize what I want instead of what the program wants. And then all of a sudden you start to take power back, and then you become the creator of what you want, not the creator of the program you got. When we're in love, we stop thinking. And the reason why we play the program is because we are thinking. So if you stop thinking, then your life is not controlled by programs. Now it's controlled by creative wishes and desires, conscious mind. And so it is, in fact, a red pill. It takes you out of the program. And this is all it did to get the life of heaven on earth, was stop playing a damn program for a day, and all of a sudden you started manifesting a honeymoon. I go, that's how fast it occurred. And if you know this, then there's a point to say, well, how can I use this? And I say, because what you have to do is recognize your thinking is leading to this. I say, that doesn't mean to stop thinking. It just means that it was your program that was playing because you were thinking. So it wasn't the issue of thinking. It was the fact that you exposed yourself to the program when you were thinking. And so the issue is, well, if I know all this, knowledge is power, then it says, well, I can change this. I go, absolutely, you can change it. And I said, imagine this: if you had a chance right now to edit your programs and you put in there the same wishes and desires you hold in your conscious mind as programs. Guess what? You can have your wishes are going to manifest whether you're thinking or not thinking. If I'm thinking, the program's going to get it for me. If I'm not thinking, my conscious mind's going to get it for me. And all of a sudden, you get the conscious mind and subconscious to work in harmony with the same program, you will manifest it. And that's where the heaven on earth comes from, is like, if you know what you want, you can reprogram this to be a way of life every day of your life.
Which means when you're in that honeymoon state, not only be in that honeymoon state, but almost be the third person, or maybe it's the second person, be the observer of yourself in that state and see how you operate in that state and see what you're no longer doing in that state, and then continue to do and not do.
And we touched on that because I said that's when, in a partnership, your partner looks at you as a mirror.
Yes.
And you are open to the assessment of that mirror, when most people will throw a rock in the mirror because they don't want to see what's going on. Yeah. That's where the argument starts. Or the openness of going, oh my goodness, I didn't know I was saying those things or meaning that. That's not what my intention was. And then all of a sudden it says, now, so what do I want to fix? It's like, well, you just discussed it. You can fix what you just discussed.
I was hit by a car. I have broken wrist. I could say shattered, but I'm careful with my words. So we know there are pieces of the wrist that aren't where they belong. I have a broken pelvis. The pieces of the pelvis are where they belong. And there is surgery that was scheduled, and then it disappeared from the schedule, and then scheduled again, and then it didn't work out, and then scheduled again, and then the doctor said I needed to see, realized I needed a specialist and not him to perform it, and then was scheduled again, and then they found massive heart abnormalities. They found...
In you.
In me. I can show you for a brief second. I was a professional cyclist, and I set 4 PRs on my bicycle, life PRs this month alone. So it was shocking to hear that they're saying my heart is in a dangerous state. I may be in really big trouble, and not only may they not be able to operate on me, but I may need to have surgery or something on my heart. And so one is there's an inverse wave, which turns out runs in our family, we learned. But if you can see this right here,
Yeah.
sure, and you look and you see that, I'll back up for a second. If you look to the side of the image, you'll see this tiny boop, 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 and then you see a giant one that goes off of the chart. It literally goes twice the height of the chart.
Yeah.
And they say, you have an abnormal heart. You may be in big trouble.
Woo!
And so we step back from that. So the other things that was just all the cancel and stuff was all to get me to the right doctor. Yeah. And I had a pep talk with him. He told me this could be challenging. It could be difficult. And I told him, Doc, this is going to go back together so much better than you ever thought it would. It is going to flow so magically. We had a beautiful discussion, and I know he gets it, and I know it will. I know it already has. So, but I get this heart thing, and I step back, and at first I'm like, oh, well, I'm an empath. Sometimes my heart bothers me about people around me, but maybe there could be something wrong. And right now he just said that, and my heart kind of hurts, and maybe, and so for a few minutes, I go back into collective programming is how I'm going to call it. The programming of my parents, their parents, their parents, and everyone around me, there could be something wrong. I was assuming this is all going to work out great.
Well, you have to, because if you don't, then what's the other picture? I don't want to see that picture. Yeah. So there's an issue here that covers all of this to some degree.
All right, and then we got more tests. So I'm chomping at the bit to let you know what the outcome is of this. So they scheduled me for an ultrasound the next day, and then they're going to follow up. That's not going to be enough testing. We're going to have to do a CAT scan the following day. And I go into the, so for the first few minutes afterwards, I'm nervous. I'm a little bit concerned. And then I go back into my awake programming. We'll call it the honeymoon state. And I said, wait a minute, none of this makes sense. None of it at all. And that is not the outcome that I am choosing. That is not the outcome that I am broadcasting or in alignment with. And I got into a great place, and I had to wait 2 days. And the next day, I worried about it for naught. Not at all. I focused on the good stuff that I could do. The following day, the ultrasound comes in, or ultrasound takes place. The operator's not supposed to say much, so I don't want to get her into too much trouble. I don't want to get her in any trouble. I send so much love, but she's going, wow, oh wow, as she's doing this thing, and she's going, the normal ultrasound of this thing can take 2 or 3 hours. She goes, yours is going to take less than an hour. I can see things so clearly. Everything is clear as a bell. Everything is strong. Everything is healthy. You just have the most magnificent heart. That evening, the cardiologist comes in. We don't even have the CAT scan yet. And he said, Michael, you have a unique heart. There's this one thing here, it's benign, you don't have to worry about it, but your heart is larger because you've trained as an athlete your whole life. Your right ventricle, which the woman had showed me, the normal flow is 10 something per second. Mine was almost 20. He said, your right ventricle is enlarged because of how great you've been taking care of it.
Absolutely. Use it or lose it applies to every organ system in the body, which is very important because dementia is now related to people stop using their brain because they get too old and lose social connections. And when they start losing the social connections, they lose the ability to communicate. That's dementia. Okay. Muscles, as you well know, you can build them up, then they go away. Every system in the body, this is the same for every system. Use it or lose it. Okay. So using your heart, now, this is the only problem with the heart.
Yeah.
When you build it up like that, it doesn't generally go back down to the previous state.
It likes to keep this up, yes.
Yeah, but now you have to keep up the exercise program that uses that extra blood flow. Because what happens to a lot of people, they stop doing all the movements and stuff. Then what happens is the muscles aren't as active and they break down, they get smaller, atrophy it's called. And now there's a problem because the blood flow is backing up in there. It's not going through like it used to. Backup pressure on the heart. And that leads to a heart attack and stuff like that because the heart's still pumping out that pressure just like you're on that bike riding and everything. And all of a sudden the muscles are not open to it. And I say, well, now you have resistance in the system. And so
I assume I'm 51 years old. I've been doing the math, and I was thinking 52 years old, I could go for how a record on the velodrome, the farthest anybody has gone in an hour because I feel so strong. I used to be a pro. I used to race in Europe, all that good stuff. What can I do in an hour just for myself? Yeah. On a bicycle. But I'm only 51. There's the 50 to 54 category. Someday there'll be the 70 to 74, the 80 to 84. What can I do with this spacesuit while I'm here?
And the answer is as long as you use it, you maintain it. And when people say, oh, I'm too old to do that, I said, that's the first thing you said that will stop whatever it was you were doing because you just told yourself, I can't do it. I'm too old. I said, you just aged yourself by saying that. There's no reason to say that. But people, it's like, they don't want to do it. I'm too old to do it. And it's like, don't say that, man. Because the function of the mind is to take that and manifest it. And you got a problem. But let's just go back to the overall issue is this.
Yes.
We are programmed in the first 7 years to respond to life. The average person, and I don't know what your program was about all this, but the average person in the world grows up in a family where someone's sick, they go to a doctor. Mother's sick, she goes to doctor.
We had a fear-based, very challenging childhood with lots and lots of stress.
That now becomes a program, and it says, oh, when it comes to health, I don't know about my health, but the doctor is the professional. And the doctor, I give truth, not to me, because I don't know, but the doctor knows everything. And all of a sudden, then the words of the doctor are the equivalent of your programming. Yes. And when the doctor gives a prognosis that's negative for those people that have that program, it's not a prognosis, it's a sentence. Because the doctor, the truth provider says, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And sure enough, all those things happen. And I go, why did they happen? Because the doctor knew about it? I say, no, the doctor programmed you because you were programmed to take those words and make truth out of them. That was your childhood programming. I am not in charge of my health. The doctor is. And that means then my word about my health has not as much power as the doctor's word about my health. And that's where people get in a lot of trouble because doctors will just hand out prognosis without even knowing that you could, as a doctor, you are programming your patient to manifest these symptoms. And the time cycle, you even said so.
I don't want to put energy into it. However, we're looking for the right, I'll put that in quotes, for the alignment of birthing center doctor and ourselves for our twins. And yes. We have gotten very weird information. For instance, the birthing center that let us go, because apparently if you have identical twins, they fire you. They said that the doctor we're seeing to ensure that there are no complications because they are usually, in quotes, are with identical twins, will have Jessica hospitalized for the last 2 months. That's by the book.
Oh, my God.
Another one said we induce a month early by the book. Another one said we do C-sections by the book. All of these things are planting into consciousness. If you're not awake, we are very awake, that something bad will happen. You must prepare for the worst and know it's coming. And
It is the
that
most
sets you
important
up.
thing to have a normal delivery as close as you can. Now, I know that issues arise somewhere where this is not going to likely occur. A doctor should be always in the wings, but not in the stage when the birthing is
Thank you.
occurring. You need another woman who has been through this, that then woman to woman. There's a dialogue that is not from you to Jessica, but from another woman. And it's important. So a midwife birthing woman is a critical person because she's done this.
Do you
She
know in the
ensures the
majority of
power.
states, midwives are not allowed to give birth? No, not a majority. 23 states, midwives are not allowed to give birth to twins. And then birthing centers, all states across the country are not allowed to give birth to identical twins.
Somebody screwed up and now everybody pays the price.
It's wild. So we agree with you. And that
Yeah.
right place is going to come to us. I'm glad you
But with
mentioned
the
that
right
one thing,
person,
though.
you
Yeah.
need a coach person
Yeah.
who is in 100% alignment with you, because if they're in alignment with you, then your belief system is going to manifest through them as well. If you get somebody who doesn't agree with you and you say, I want this, and they decide, well, this is better for you, and then all of a sudden you've lost the control. You just gave it to them. That's the biggest failure. You believe in yourself. You believe in yourself. Does Jessica need, how does she believe in this stuff? The idea of putting her in a bed for a month before us, like, what, are
2
you
months.
kidding me? She should be out being healthy. She should be walking. She should be energizing. Why? Her nourishment, her blood is going to nourish the fetus. Her blood has nutrition and information. She must take care of both elements of that. Nutrition, of course, obviously, eating the healthiest, natural, organic, dynamic food, for sure. But the information is her consciousness. And if her consciousness is in fear, distortion, concern, like when they talk to, twins, you can't, it's like, she's the mother. What's going on? What do you mean I can't? That's a scary situation when people say this stuff. But she has to be recognized. No, she is the mother. She's not the first woman to give birth to twins. And she lived in any other country like India. There's no doctor that's going to make a difference with twins or not. Is there or not? It's not relevant, But in a country like this, and the biggest issue is because nobody wants responsibility.
Bingo.
And therefore, oh my God, you could be tricky for us and you could cost us money, so don't do your babies here. That's what basically, that was a financial situation they said that for. I don't want to be responsible for you because I heard this is a dangerous situation. I go, well, that's their belief system. But if you bought into the system, then that becomes your belief system. So the average couple will take those words and do everything that they said, because they have given up power over health to the professional who is supposed to be the more powerful one. Yeah. And I go, yeah, but if the professional power person gives you the wrong information and you bought it, then you become that information. And that's the last thing. So you're doing exactly what Jessica needs for her to have: a person around her who gives her full support, takes care of her environment so she doesn't have to put any effort into fear about what's going on in the world. Because if she's in a happy mode, then happy chemistry is going into the baby. And I'll show you that in the sonogram, where an argument between a couple causes the baby to reflexively arch itself in a protection system. So happiness is the best medicine.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So on that note, because we just keep going and going, Bruce, where can people go to find out more, Bruce, to get some happiness and to check out all of your beautiful work?
Well, it's so simple because it's simply brucelipton.com. And on that website, there's so much information: audio, video, written articles, downloadable. The whole thing is downloadable. I prefer and like to talk about my newsletters, because my nephew Alex is my videographer, and together we make little video clips, like stories, taking it out of movies, taking things from movies that people know, and I put on my costumes and we play these things, little vignettes, but the vignettes tell a story. So it's having fun, but also getting an education at the same time. So my newsletters every month, and they're free. You just have to sign up if you want it, and they get delivered. And so the website is a great resource, and how to change beliefs. Big section on changing beliefs and all that stuff is in there. And so many videos, audios, hundreds.
And what it is, and I want everybody to go to brucelipton.com. What you're really offering, and like when we had some audio difficulties earlier, you said off air, you said, thank you, Michael, because you're making my job easier, because now I don't have to personally go and reach each one of these people. What you and I are doing, and then via proxy, what every single person is, we hope, doing, is sharing their energy with the world, and that shifts consciousness. You may have just covered the world, Bruce, but any last words of wisdom you want to share with people tonight?
I'm so happy to be able to do that with you, Michael. I so enjoy it. And of course, you are a beaming person who says, look at this, see this damage? Not worried about it. It's all going to be repaired and better and stronger afterwards.
I see positive shifts. I see a coming together at a higher level. I see incredible learnings from this. So I see only positive possibilities. Temporary boo-boo, really want to take care of wifey better and the little kiddos inside of her and my rooster who's going, where was my daddy and the kitties? But all of it happening through us and for us, not to us, and supporting us.
That's what the game is all about.
All of it.
That's what it's all about. So I wish you a speedy recovery and a super strength, because when something gets repaired in the body, it also gets stronger, so not to have to deal with it again. And I wish for you and Jessica the most wonderful experience, because you're manifesting an evolution. A child is a unit of evolution. If it works in harmony with the world, we're evolving. Will it work in harmony? What kind of programs did it get when it got off the ground? Well, that's you and Jessica, okay? And so I so appreciate that. And I appreciate our audience, because anyone who picks this up is going to have a different vibration from their consciousness. And as a result of a different vibration, their tuning fork is going to broadcast more harmony and peace. And the more tuning forks with harmony and peace, the more nature will manifest harmony and peace.
Woohoo! So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get the biology of belief, and become a tuning fork of harmony and belief today, and above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! Thank you. This is a silent clap. It's a one-handed clap.
I've noticed that.
So much. If you watch this and embody this and watch it over and over again and embody it, it completely sets you free. It takes you out of the matrix. It takes you out of your programming. It takes you out of what I call white smock syndrome, of giving your power to the man or the woman or the system or the government or the whomever. Out of love. That's what we're talking about. Out of love. This interview will set you free. So I hope so much you have enjoyed this interview as much as I have. On that note, if you want to communicate with Spirit, if you want to communicate with the other side, if you want to communicate with your future baby girls, how does it get any better than this? On the other side, pick up AWE, the automatic writing experience, or learn our AWE program, our video-based program with live classes at automaticwriting.com. It helps you go quiet, get centered, dive in on the inside, let go of the matrix, and hear from your higher self, hear from a higher power, and completely changes your perspective on life and rewires you in the process. On that note, every Monday night I have a YouTube live event where I'm helping shift your energy. I'm helping rewire you. We're going to the angels. We're going to the guides. I'm doing a transference of energy, a transmission to you as well. Every Monday night on YouTube, people are, say they're loving them, complete understatement, but people do love them. You simply click on the subscribe button below, click the bell icon, and you'll be notified for our next show, for our next premiere, and most importantly, for our next YouTube live event, which is every Monday night. Big thumbs up if you like this. Leave your comments below. Here's where to check out the next most amazing interview. Love you guys so much. Check out our School of Mystics, of course, And above and beyond all else, shine bright. Woohoo! Love you guys, love you guys, love you guys. How does it get any better than this? How does it get any better than this?